What's up, Festival Tales fam? We are back with another Forbidden Kingdom special episode because we both went to Forbidden Kingdom. So we're just going to recap that. Just some quick housekeeping. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our Patreon. It helps us make this podcast happen. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Do you want to kick off? What was your experience
The
like?
heat, oh my gosh, the heat was excruciatingly hot. I am a Florida boy, as some of you know, could be called the Florida man, although I don't think I'm that crazy yet. But it was
There.
just so freaking hot and humid out there. Um, it is one thing to do a festival in May, such as SMF or Breakaway in April. There's two things that are so different than that in June. One, the humidity is not nearly as bad in April and May. Two, those events are in Tampa, which has a little bit of a sea breeze and it helps just cool it off during the day and into the night. And I mean, FK is in the middle of the state in Orlando. We like Orlando for EDC. We like it when it's not the summer, but it was just so hot and there was absolutely no breeze. It was just as dead as could be.
Yes. It was so hot. They really try to combat the heat with the tents.
Yeah.
The main stage, they added a tent this year. And then was it the Mystic stage? I forget the
Yeah.
name of the stage, the other
Yep.
stage
Yes, it was
nearby.
the
Okay.
Mystic stage. Yeah. Yeah.
It was also kind of enclosed, but not quite indoors. They did try to combat the heat with that. However, what ended up happening is it just created an oven instead.
Yeah.
There was actually no escape from the heat. I've been to a couple of the hottest festivals I've been to is EDC, Camp EDC, not EDC itself, but Camp EDC. That's why I didn't camp this year. And Bonnaroo, which is this upcoming weekend. Yeah, Bonnaroo is also quite hot to the point where you can't really use a tent unless you want to cook. Um, so it's like, yeah, it was very comparable to that. Thank God it
Yeah.
wasn't a camp. That's what I was thinking the whole time.
Thank
I said, thank God.
thank God. I on that note, and I want to circle back, but on that note, yeah, it's funny is we camped in Okeechobee, and Okeechobee is in South Florida. And South Florida also, for those that aren't familiar with the Florida geography and the weather, South Florida is just hot year round. Like, it just doesn't matter kind of really when. Like, it very rarely gets cold. But that was the same thing. We camped out there at Okeechobee. It was so hot. Even though it was March, it felt like we just couldn't get out of the heat. It was just so hot. And we had fans going at the campsite. We were in bathing suits, just sweating. But I do really want to say, as hot as it was, I have to give applause and praise where it is. Forbidden Kingdom does a phenomenal job of listening to the festival goers about how hot it is and about how there is shade needed and yada yada yada. I can go on and on. But they have done that every year. They've always upped it. They've always made it better every year to combat that heat. So they've done a really good job. I mean, the shade structure this year, first year for that big mega structure, first year. Bravo. Yes, there were some issues with it being a hot like an oven. Okay, now we take that, we learn, we put misters in it. Next year, we put a fan in it, something. They'll make the adjustment. I really do think so. They've done that every year, and they've done a great job at that every year. I mean, they've added misters the year before. They added more this year. They added that chill down area this year as well. So they had two stages covered, and they had that chill down Dragon's Den area. Will say I did go in there because I wanted to check it out and I wanted to get content and just show what it was like. It was just as hot as the megastructure, if I'm going to be real. It seemed like on day two, the air might have been broken or something. However, it was shaded and it wasn't as hot as outside. So, all things considered, yes, it was hot, but they listened to us for adding shade. And I guarantee you they'll do better job next year if they decide to keep it in summer. The easiest solution would be to just not do it in the summer. And I don't know the logistics as to why they moved it into summer versus moving it into, actually, you know what? I just thought about it off the top of my head. It makes total sense why they did not do it in February, because when they bought Okeechobee, they already had a festival in the spring and they just didn't have one in the summer. For those who don't know, FK used to not be by Insomniac at all. It used to be its own thing. It was down in South Florida. It used to be in February. Beautiful, great area. But as things get bigger, they get better. And because of that, they needed to move and get more space. So they moved to Central Florida. But at that time, Insomniac also partnered or bought part of Okeechobee. And for the first time ever, I'm now understanding that they had Okeechobee in the spring, they had FK in the summer, and then they had EDC Orlando in the fall. It all makes sense. So, but if they can swing it ever going somewhere another time of the year, that's probably the best thing they could do.
Yeah. No, and it's, there's only so much that you can do about the heat.
Yeah.
And Insomniac is such an established company and does so well with their, with the events that they do have, that they do listen. There's a reason they are Insomniac, right? And they have the reputation that they have is because they do listen. But ultimately, there's only so much you can do about the heat. In,
Yeah.
so
Now, all things considered, festival is great. Let's we got the funny bad part out of the way. It's not really that bad. Like you said, it's not controllable. Nothing against them.
yeah, enough about
Overall,
the weather. Let's talk about the actual festival.
yeah. Overall, I think it was a great 2-day event. I mean, it really did. I think it went off without a hitch. I didn't think there were any, I don't know of any complaints otherwise. I thought the stages this year were spot on. They did a phenomenal job. I loved how they redid the Siberian stage. I think maybe the best one yet. And I've gone all 5 years, so I think best one yet, in my opinion. I also really liked the mega structure. I thought it was very cool. I liked the way they had the stages. Um, Only two things I would change about the mega structure. One, it should look like a castle because we're in the Forbidden Kingdom. That's a very minor thing, but make it look like a castle. And then two, the screens outside, which were dope to have out there for people that were out back far enough where they weren't in the mega structure, but they could still see the stage. Those screens didn't have the visuals, they had the DJ playing. I feel like they should have had the visuals personally, because you're back far enough to where the speakers, you're still hearing the music and you can see the stage, but now you're not getting the visuals from, say Excision or whoever. You're just seeing them up there, press the knobs, which I can do that at home watching YouTube. I want to see stuff from the festival. But I mean, real again, great festival. I loved it. I loved it. They did a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, and this was my first Forbidden Kingdom, and I've heard great things about it, and it was pretty great. Not gonna lie, I had no complaints. I mean, other than the heat, which again is completely out of anyone's
Yeah.
control. Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I guess another complaint I have, and this is a good problem to have, is the lineup was so stacked from beginning to end that some of the people that were playing at like 2 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon were just like would like headline any other festival, like any
Yeah.
small kind of home festival. So the lineup was just so good, just all day, that yeah, the lineup was just like really good from beginning to end, which you don't see a lot at festivals. Like I think the last day Tape B played at 3:45,
Yep. Yep.
which is crazy because he sold out in New York, which is like not a base hub. He sold out his show in New York a few months ago. Like Tape B is he's he's up there. So for him to be
He's
playing at 45 is it says a lot about how good this lineup was. And I really like that they had a exclusively drum and bass stage the first day.
yeah,
But
I wasn't expecting that.
how they did it. I don't know. It seemed pretty sparse, which I hope can change because I think it is an underappreciated genre in this country. But I thought that was really cool and unique that they had a drum and bass stage one day.
It was.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I will say it was hard. I think for that was the first year they kind of did that. They've had drum and bass artists before. I just don't remember them having their own dedicated stage. Um, but it is hard to get that dedicated stage. The only reason I say that is because Florida, especially like Tampa and coming over to Orlando, is a pretty big bass hub now. It's probably the second most, I would say, in the country. It's pretty big. So it's just hard to sell that as its own thing all day. Rhythm was big. I mean, even the small little village stage on the side was almost always crowded, it felt like, or crowded for that size of a stage, at least. And they had some pretty decent, you know, up and coming bass and rhythm DJs that were there. And I just went over there at least 3 or 4 times throughout the 2 days, saw some people and loved it. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome this year. Four great stages, lots of different shade structures, chill down tent, misting tunnels. Did you go get power washed by those? Did you get hit with the mesters, the guys that with the power washers at all?
I think I did, yes.
That was
When I
like a
Yes, I did.
lifesaver on day two. Oh my gosh, like being there all day, it was like, oh, it was just felt so good.
No, it definitely did feel very good. So I'm really glad that they had that. It was also just like a cool touch to have people in costumes spraying stuff.
um,
So definitely, um, yeah, no, it was, I loved it. I thought it was a great festival. I would go back. I would go back as long as it's not sandwiched in between any other festivals.
yeah, the
Which,
back to back to backs is not for the weak.
yeah.
Um, Sets from the weekend. What would you actually wait, before we even dive into that, we need to hear your story of getting to Forbidden Kingdom because you had quite the experience. And if those who don't know haven't heard it, they should hear it because there's no excuse for not attending a festival after hearing everything that went down.
Oh yeah, that little situation. So, um, as you know, I recently moved and had a lot going on, so I booked my flight fairly late. I booked my flight going there on United from, not to call out United, but it was on one airline. My return flight was on another airline, and I booked it from what I thought was Denver to Orlando. And then 2 days before my flight, I checked my calendar and it says your trip to Miami. And I don't recall my trip to Miami. I remember sitting on these flights for days. Just I looked it up again and again. I triple check because this is not something I do. I fly all the time. I fly at least twice a month. I've never made this mistake before. I don't even know if it was my mistake or a system error or something. After learning a few things, I think it may have been a system error, honestly. So then I ended up booking a flight that went into Houston. I mean, they put me on another flight. They got me closer to Orlando, but I flew into Fort Myer and I had a layover. So that sucked. So I got in, I rented a car. The rental company gave me a car. I said, look, I need a win. Can you just like give me a car that'll just, get me wherever, whatever. So they gave me a brand new electric car. They said that it was charged enough that it would get me from the Fort Myer airport to the Orlando airport and then some. So I said, that's great. I prepaid for the charge so I wouldn't have to sit at a charging station and charge it because I just wanted to get there, drop off the car, and just on my way.
Yeah.
This car was an actual nightmare. It was an actual nightmare. I had to stop in the middle of driving from Fort Myer to Orlando in the middle of the night at like 2 in the morning. I just did a charging station for 45 minutes and I was trying to go to home base, but I couldn't even make it to home base after sitting there for almost an hour. The charge that I got just barely got me to my friend's house, who was like 20 minutes south of home base. And I was just stressing the whole time. I pulled up, I crashed at the Airbnb. I got up, I went to a charging station. I sat there for another 30 minutes at a fast charging station so that I could get the car to the hotel to pick up my tickets. And airport. And what ended up happening is the car, I got to go pick up my tickets. And even though in theory it should have gotten me to the airport, the car had 2 miles left. So I used 1 mile to get to a fast charging station. Well, actually, I used a few miles before that trying to find a charging station. They're all broken. And for each one, apparently you need to download a new app. So I just accepted that that's what I would have to do. Found a charging station, fast charging, pulled up. I had 40 minutes to drop off the car and then get to the Airbnb where I was actually staying to go to Forbidden Kingdom with everyone I was going to Forbidden Kingdom with. And the charging port wouldn't open. So I couldn't even charge the car. It had 1 mile left. I had 40 minutes to basically get to Forbidden Kingdom. And I was 20 minutes away from like where I was being picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to tow my rental car. I had to just ditch it in some random parking lot in Orlando. I called the rental car company. I said, look, I was lied to about this car. And now the car is broken. And I know it's broken because I've used the charging port multiple times. And this time it won't open. There's nothing I can do. Like keys are in the center console, deal with it. It's not my car. So yeah, I ditched my car. And then I was at FK and the towing company called me. They're like, all right, just to make sure that they got the right car. And I was like standing at the drum and bass stage on the phone with the towing company. If there's a will, there's a way. That's what I'm gonna say. I committed to going to FK, and
you made it happen.
I almost backed out. I almost backed out when I saw the price of flights. I was kind of freaking out because it was crazy. It was like a flight from New York to Europe. It's like the same. It was insane. It cost me almost the same amount to fly to EDC, which, if you don't know, EDC is the most expensive festival to fly to, or at least one of them in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that weekend is just so, everyone is going there. But it cost me so much, I almost didn't go. And then when I committed to going, I was like, no, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. So yes, that is me getting to FK. Yeah, that's what happened.
Absolutely insane story right there. I have made long drives to go to festivals as long as 14 to 18 hours. I've done that, but that's not nearly as stressful or as crazy as that, from the flights to everything. Like, and again, like me being in Florida, I know, like, I'm like, oh my God, I have you going to Miami. That's like a 3.5 hour drive. And then, it's like, we can flip you around to Fort Myers, and you're like, I guess that's might be closer. And then you just find out like that's just the other coast. Like it doesn't, it's
It
a
actually
little bit
was,
less, but not, yeah, it's a little, but not like if you were to fly
but
over here to Tampa or fly over to Jacksonville or something. It's just like
yeah,
it's just a mess. And anyways, yeah, you made it. But for those that maybe have crazy travel stories, that's a new category of festival travels. We can talk about that. But that is, whew, that's crazy. And then the electric car on top of it, it's like
the
our electric
car
cars are
part was
cool. Oh,
the car part was because I think that the flight, there is a chance that it might have been human error. Everyone has bad travel days. Everyone has long travel days. That happens.
yeah,
The rental car having to get towed.
yeah, yeah, not ideal.
That's really what I was like, all right, dude. Like at that point I had to laugh because it was so ridiculous. Like I wasn't even upset. I was just like, I'm like, yeah, I just had to ditch it on the side of the road,
I
basically. Like,
know.
I
You
mean,
text
what
me
were my,
that, and you texted me
I know,
that, and I just was picturing like on the side of the highway, like you just pull off on the on the like
no,
median on the side,
it
and
was
you're
a
like,
parking
I'm
lot. It was sitting at a charging station. It just could not be charged.
yeah, no, it's just funny that picture like on the side of the highway, and you're just like, I'm done. I'm going to the festival, and you're like, pick it up on the side of the road. It's just
Yeah, I mean,
funny.
what was I gonna do? Stay with the broken rental car until the
No,
towing company came 2 hours
I
later?
don't.
Oh, visitor.
We have a friend.
Yeah, hi, buddy. All right. Yeah.
This is
What you
now the
doing?
cat pod.
I know. I don't know. He does this.
Oh, he's good. We all furry friends are welcome.
Yeah, no. Go do something else.
Yeah, that's a crazy story of getting there for sure. Were there any stories that you have in the festival during the time?
In the festival, what happened during the festival? I'm trying to think. Nothing super out of the ordinary happened. I mean, I saw more weird stuff at home base. Not gonna lie.
No, true, but that's because home base is after hours, and that is when the wooks and are coming out even more because they're on their fun party favors till 7 a.m. in the morning, and home base is going all night long.
This is definitely it's definitely the Wook Hotel. It's home base. I've never, can I help you? I've never heard of someone having a bad time at home base. It definitely is an acquired taste, I must say. But the stuff I saw there, dude, it's great. I saw a chick fly over the rail during Big Gigantic 3 times and then climb back over.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. They did not even stop it or anything. Um, oh, at home base, I mean, this is not FK, but at home base, I did get to go on stage when Levity was playing, which was very fun and very exciting. I was very, yeah, I had my little hot girl moment that weekend. I got to be
Oh,
up there on stage, hooting and hollering down there for a couple of songs, and then made my way back down. But it was fun.
I still haven't seen them yet. And you got to see them from on stage.
Well, when you get to a certain level and you got these dashing good looks, things just
Yeah.
kind of fall in your lap, it just happens. When I put my hair down, it's a whole different world for me.
Yeah, no. If you're pretty enough, you're yeah, you can get anywhere in this world.
Usually it's not like up for guys, but it is.
Yeah.
What was that? Say that again.
Including on stage with Levity at home base.
Yeah, yeah. I just think they just mistook me. My hair was down, and Anyways, I was shaved. The hair wasn't there. I had no beard, so it was nice. um, Trying to
I
think
love that
anything
though.
at FK that happened for me. Um,
I mean, there was the whole shutdown
at home base or at FK?
at home base, not FK.
Yeah, yeah, there was. That was crazy. For those that don't know, I guess we can touch it really quick. Basically, Saturday they, I guess, oversold the event, and there were a lot of people there, and they weren't letting people in. And they shut down one of the stages, and then they still weren't letting people back in. And then if you left, they weren't letting you back in. It was a whole debacle. I got lucky enough to where I was already in, and all that went down. I just was there, so I didn't have any problems. But I know for a lot of people, including some of my friends there, they were not able to get in and enjoy their home based experience that they had paid for.
Yeah. No, and it wasn't home base. It was the fire marshal. And it was for safety. And it not putting the blame on anyone at all.
Yeah.
Fire marshal walked in and Cod Dubs was just ripping it. So, I mean, obviously everyone was there and it was rowdy. So optics, I think, also played into that. I mean, it is a big hotel, so I feel like it would be hard to oversell. I don't, again, I'm not putting any blame on home base. I love home base. I wish I got to spend more time at home base. Um, which I'll tell you where I was instead of home base because that's actually kind of an but Yeah, I think that it was a safety thing. It was optics. There was a lot of things that went into it, and stuff like this happens all the time. So, but it
And I will,
was kind of
yeah, it did.
that, like, seeing people just waiting outside. So I went in through the back. Um, so I got in like just as all of this was happening, and like watching all the people just standing outside the doors waiting to get back in and not being let back in. I was like, this is crazy. It made for a good time though. It was rowdy. It's always rowdy.
Yes, it was rowdy. I know some people were able to go to like the pool area and they had some renegades going there. So it wasn't a total loss. And I do agree. I was in that front room right before they shut it all down, that front room. And it was very crowded. And just unfortunately, that room was the room that was near all the exits. And it was just extremely crowded because obviously FK weekend, it's a very big dubstep and rhythm crowd. God Dubs is playing. It's one of the few rhythm DJs that was there that night. It was extremely packed there. I do agree. The fire marshal did it. There's no really blame. It just sucked when people were outside still having to wait to get in and yada yada. They are changing hotels in the near future, so that's something they hopefully won't have to worry about or run into again. Bigger space and whatnot going forward. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. Be
No,
cool.
it will be interesting. I think that they're switching it to, and I could be wrong, but I think it's the Artist Hotel. I think that they're gonna do it there, or it's at least the same type of hotel. It's the DoubleTree.
It is. It's the one in Universal, which it's like
So it's not the
it's
Artist Hotel. Yeah.
it's not the artist hotel, but it's two towers with a meeting area in the middle. Two, I think there's for sure one giant conference room. There might be two, one in each tower, and then the pool. And it's probably in the middle between. It's about 10 minutes on the road to FK. So it's kind of in the middle of where the hotel was and where FK is this year. So it's a little bit closer to FK. I don't know how it is in relation to EDC or Orlando, but it's probably like no more than 20 or 15 or 20 minutes. So it will be a way better move for them, and a lot bigger space, which is more exciting. And I know a lot of people stay at that particular Hilton already because I had to drop some friends off there in the years past. So it's definitely and it was crowd. Like I remember dropping them off and there were already people like downstairs. Like it is a very crowded um, raver hotel during the time of the EDC or FK. So it'll work out really well for them,
Yeah.
I think.
Just a
I
side
will
note.
say you first.
Oh,
You first.
oh, well, you asked a crazy experience that happened this past weekend, and I actually just remembered that I had one. So instead of going to Homebase the first night, I went to this mansion party. Did I tell you about this?
You did
I don't,
not tell us about the
we
mansion.
don't even know whose house it was. Like, no one could figure out whose house it was, but you had to go through three different gates to get to the house. And this house was massive. There was like, I mean, there were just like nice cars everywhere. It had its own courtyard, and the party was actually in the guest house. The guest house, for reference, is
A regular house.
it's like three, it's like 3,000 square feet plus. Like it was massive. But I walk in, dude, and I just see sudden death just ripping it in this living room. And then halfway through me being there, he gets on the mic and he said, "I want all of you to start a mosh pit in this random living room right now. I'm not kidding." So I ended up moshing in someone's house. I don't know who, with sudden death in some random person's living room, 40 minutes north or 30 minutes north of FK, middle of nowhere.
Moshing in a
So,
house.
yeah. And then the second day I pulled up and Gasly was there. He went back to back with Bernzekiel for a little bit. And then company walks in. I left to go to home base at that point, but I heard that AT Aliens were there. Kaiwachi was there. And I don't know how anyone found out about this house, but or whose house it was. I don't think none of us will ever know. It was like a Great Gatsby situation, but it was very weird. It was very cool.
What a mysterious figure. What a mysterious figure to just have these afters with all these artists there. I love it.
Yeah,
And
it
never
was
show
interesting.
and never say like this is my house.
Pizza, like tons of pizza. It's very weird. There was
It was a
cool people.
pizza party.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was a very interesting experience.
That's
So
too
yeah,
funny.
that's yeah,
It was the pizza party.
it
Um,
was pizza.
I
No
was
one was
gonna the
eating it.
only no the only other thing I was gonna say was home base with the shuttles was a move, I will say. It was very nice to not have to worry about driving. It was super nice to just wake up, get on the shuttle, get there, and then hey, I wanted to leave whenever I could. I could just get on the shuttle and go. I mean, if I left super early, I couldn't, but like I left at like day two, I left 30 minutes early because two of my really good friends were opening for Big G. So I wanted to get there for their sets at like 11 and stuff. But I mean, Julie just walked out, got on the bus, was there in 20 minutes. It was perfect. Like, couldn't have
Yeah,
can't complain. So we'll say that's a big perk for those who are interested. Um, other
that
than
last year
that,
was so the move. It was so the move. Yeah, do the shuttle from home base to like even if you don't stay at home base, it's just like so convenient to not have to drive.
yeah, and you can Uber from the hotel to wherever you need to go if you're not doing home base. It's a good move.
Yeah,
Um,
they're
It'll be cheaper
so
than the festival for sure. Any
definitely.
other things to add? I think we covered a lot here, honestly.
Yeah, I think we did it. We did the
We
thing
did the
despite
thing. We
one
are,
brain cell
yeah, I would
each.
say
Actually,
we are
we share a
tired.
brain cell.
We are tired. We are beat right now. We were motivating ourselves to get these done because we were tired. As could be. I am, I should say. Bella seems to be fine. Babs is dying slowly but surely.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
what me. It's weird. Concerning, really.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. I know that was a little bit longer of a recap than we normally did. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe to the podcast, especially on YouTube. That really helps the numbers. Leave us a review if you can. Follow us on socials. Follow Bella on socials. Follow me on socials. All that fun, good stuff. Sign up for the Patreon and support the podcast. Everything helps. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace.